Today's day 8 of the quarantine. The social distancing. Distancing. Welcome to day 8 of our daily tea practice. Today I'm going to be doing a tea that I really like, which is Houjicha. And Houjicha is a roasted green tea from Japan. These guys are pretty dark looking for green teas, but as many of you know, the stuff is actually a green tea. It's just been roasted. But a common misconception I get is that Houjicha is just roasted, and that's it. And so while I've seen people dig into like Fukamushi sencha, gyokuro, genmaicha, different grades of all those, I don't think we talk about grades of Houjicha very much. So I'm excited to brew these up with you guys. I changed it from 5 to 6 because I can't help myself. I found another Houjicha that we could just to compare, but that's okay. I don't think you guys will mind, right? Yeah. So hello to S. Burkhard and to Meme Amy. How's it going? Hi from Las Vegas. I'm excited. I am feeling a little bit weird today, a little dizzy. It's kind of like maybe cabin fever. Does cabin fever make you feel a certain way? So I decided to do something a little bit more cozy. Houjicha is a very kind of comfort food-like tea. My friend Pam from Shaoli's Tea just told me, yeah, it is a comfort food kind of tea. But depending on where or when the tea was harvested and the material used for the tea, the Houjicha will change flavor quite a bit. And I have a favorite among these 6, but maybe that'll change today if things go a different kind of way, so we'll see. Now first off, we'll get preheating. I'm going to brew all of these guys in these lovely little chahai, just so that they're consistent. I'm not going to weigh them out. I'm not feeling that scientific today, but I think that they're going to be different enough that just guesstimating the amount, making sure it's not, totally off, will be enough for our purposes today. If you guys are okay with that. So I'm going to preheat these guys, just make sure they're all primed up, and then let me know what you guys have been drinking so far today. So far we've had some charcoal roast dongding from yesterday. All of the 4 whole leaves that we put into the bowl are still going. Really potent tea from floating leaves. And then we also have a genmaicha that we were brewing earlier this morning. And that's pretty much it for us today. Pretty low-key teas. We go up and down. But I just can't do a low-key tea session, can I? Like suddenly I'm like, wow, 6 Houjicha. Let's make it really chill. Steven, don't give me that look. So yeah, let's tell you about the teas. This one is Houjicha Gold Roast from Houjicha.co. This is supposed to be the highest grade Houjicha, and it's a spring harvest. Then we're going to go to a quote-unquote Royal Houjicha from Tea and Whisk. Royal's not a grade of Houjicha, it's what they just call it. But it is also a spring harvest, but you can see that the materials of these 2 Houjicha are quite different. Houjicha.co's has more leaves and is a little bit darker in color, whereas Tea and Whisk's spring Houjicha is a little bit lighter in color with more stems. Okay? So we'll see how these compare. And then this one is the same company but a different grade. This is Houjicha.co's dark roast. From what I understand, this one now is summer, or, late spring. It's the second harvest. So as we're jumping from the first harvest stuff to the second harvest stuff, we should probably see a difference in the complexity of the tea, the depth, the texture, but we'll see. That's all theory until we test it out. Hello to TJ and Lily Duflove and Apatea. Good afternoon from Vegas. Number 4 on this lineup is a bancha. So bancha is like the lowest grade of Japanese green tea that's been roasted. And these both have pretty coarse leaves, so I'm guessing that these both are late spring, summer harvests. This one has much bigger leaves than this one. This one's more cut up. This one has more big stems, so they, made of slightly different leaf material. I'm curious to see how they turn out. And then we're going to go into the stems now. And this here is a Houjicha. So this is just stems for the most part. You got a couple leaves over here, but it's mostly stems, so it's very light. So when you roast the stems versus the leaves, you will be getting a different kind of flavor profile also. And then last one, I just can't handle myself. These are both stems, but this guy is just regular tea leaves stems. This one is Gyokuro tea leaves stems, or Gyokuro tea stems. So these stems have been sorted out from like sencha, fukamushi sencha maybe, you know, standard grade of green tea. But these have been sorted out from Gyokuro, so they should probably taste pretty different. They're really quite green. I'm not sure that's because they roasted it a little bit lighter, or it's because they just are lighter in general. We'll have to see taste-wise. So yeah, we're talking about factors here. We're talking about season. We're talking about the material being used. Like, are we using leaves or are we using stems? And then we're also talking about the level of roast, because the tea maker, the tea processor can decide how much roast to put on the leaves. I've never been to a tea processing unit in Japan, so I've never seen Houjicha being roasted. So if anyone's ever seen that, or you know how these guys are roasted, let me know. I imagine they're roasted electric, like in an electric oven. I think that after the roasting experiment we did a couple weeks ago, people were like, oh my god, that's how they make Houjicha. And yes, you can make Houjicha that way. But can you imagine people in Japan, like, you'll have like an assembly line of people with like roasters, like roasting over flames just to get Houjicha. It'd be more expensive than your typical green tea. So I really don't think that, you know, every single Houjicha is hand roasted with a horoku like that. It just doesn't make any sense labor-wise. So I'm guessing that Houjicha is probably going to be like a more big mass, like electric oven that they put everything in, which is fine too. That means that the Japanese kind of, you know, tea approach, which is more consistent, more technology driven, super hygienic, is going into the Houjicha too. Different tea places got different cultures, got different philosophies, and we see that in the kind of tea that they make. So Japan's very sanitary, very consistent. And also, Houjicha is a factor of that kind of difference in tea culture or tea industry. The reason why we have Houjicha from Japan is that even compared to other tea countries, Japanese tea labor, or just labor in general, the cost of living is very high, so the cost of production is very high. So that's why we don't really see, like, roasted dragonwell from China, or, you know, roasted oolong from, like, the pruning season in Taiwan. We don't have this byproduct kind of tea coming from other places because there's not as much of a need. But in Japan, they absolutely need to get the most out of their leaves, out of their money, out of their production season, and that's, I think, why Houjicha particularly came up in Japan, for that reason. They just gotta make it work, you know? So yeah, I think these guys are nice and preheated now. I'm super excited. For those of you joining in, we are doing a side-by-side tasting of 6 different Houjicha. I see Leo there, lurking. He's the owner of Tea and Whisk. Hey Leo, can you tell which Houjicha is yours? Which one's your baby? It's like one of those game shows they have in Japan. Like, you know, which lunch was cooked by your mom? Can you tell which one's yours? One of them is a Tea and Whisk Houjicha. Those of you who were here earlier know which one it is, but Leo will not. Easy? Which one is it? I'm super excited to see if you'll get it right. Amy says that she's been drinking a Huangda cha, roasted yellow tea. I've never had that before. I'd like to try that. Hi to Dylan from Tea Dragon, Teaspoon Views, MX Inward, Dabbing a Vin, and Optimistic at Last. I'm gonna say your name right today. So Leo says yours is second from the right. This is my right. Right, Leo? I'm not gonna get you wrong. This one? So you're saying this is yours? I'd like him to confirm. Is this yours? I'm really interested to see if he'll get it right. That's not yours, Leo. No, it's not yours. It's very close. So Leo did pick the one that's pretty similar looking to his. This one is a Royal Houjicha from Tea and Whisk. I think you can give Leo a fair shake. You know, they look pretty similar. The Houjicha from his shop is quite stemmy compared to other Houjicha, and it is my favorite from this lineup. But we'll see if it stands up to some of these Houjicha in a side-by-side comparison. And even if it is my favorite, I do drink different kinds of Houjicha depending on my mood. And I can tell you more about what I think about each of these, but first let's actually start brewing. Okay. I actually do want to get the scale out because I just realized touching the leaves, some of them are quite light. So the leaf Houjicha and the stem Houjicha are quite different. Let's use Christine's. What did Leo say? I need to see closer. I'm doing medical exam while watching? What are you doing? Oh my god. Leo, you can't say that you're having a medical exam because isn't it that tea shop owners can't have problems? You guys live forever. You drink so much tea, you don't get sick. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about these Houjicha, let me know. So again, this first one is Houjicha.co's Gold Roast. This is supposed to be their highest grade tea. And the reason why I'm deciding to weigh out these teas is because I realized I might not be able to eyeball it as well as a different kind of tea, because these are made of, again, leaves and stems, right? Leaves and stem material. And when you pick up stems, they're quite light, you know? So I might get it wrong just by eyeballing it. So just to make it really fair, I'm going to make sure to weigh out a gram of each of these. Okay. And yes, I use my hands to pick up my tea. It's just me and Steven here. I got so used to it after like seeing it on the farms. It's like all of the kind of, what do you call that? Like etiquette about tea goes out the window when you're drinking tea with farmers. They're just like boiling water in a glass. Just chuck it in there. All 10 to 20 grams of it that they put into a pot. So the second one that I weighed out was Leo's Royal Houjicha. It's a spring harvest Houjicha. And when you're comparing spring and summer harvests, you know, in Japan, the spring harvest is when the plants come back to life. So all of the kind of energy and oomph that they've been waiting for to come out in the spring will just hit all at the same time in the spring. So usually spring harvests are higher quality. You'll get more flavor, just more substance from those harvests. And a spring Houjicha is going to be a higher grade. Typically, if you go to like the grocery store or just any like Japanese restaurant that happens to be serving Houjicha, I'm willing to bet that they're using a summer harvest or late spring harvest or even autumn harvest. So you can see the difference in the leaf quality between the spring harvest stuff and the summer harvest from the same company. See how these leaves are more fine, and then these leaves are more big and kind of coarse, right? This is the spring stuff. This should be better, more complex. I mean, better subjective, but this will be more flavorful, more complex. This one should be more kind of like chilled out, more cozy. So it also depends on what you're looking for in that tea experience at that time. So these two are going into the summer harvests. And then these last two, which are stem only, I actually don't know which season they're from. I think this one is probably spring as well. Sorted out from Essentia that was harvested in the spring. but I'm not sure. And then I do know that this one, the one from the gyokuro stems, must be from the spring harvest, because gyokuro is only made once a year, from what I understand. I've never ever seen a gyokuro that's been made outside of the spring harvest. It just doesn't seem logistically possible for it to happen. So I'm guessing this one is also spring harvest. And then we weighed out 1 gram of each of these teas. And as we taste these, I'd like for you to think too what kind of tea you think you would like from this lineup. So it's good, number one, to study these teas just for the sake of knowledge, but also for the sake of which one am I gonna like? What tea will be good for which situations? Okay. I'm ready if you guys are. Steven, this is awesome. I really like it when we're about to start something like this. It just gives me so much anticipation. Okay. Leo, I hope your tea stands up. Otherwise you're gonna embarrass yourself. Okay, let's go. So I'm gonna fill up to, let's say, where the handle is. I don't have a scale that can handle measuring out the water. So I'm gonna fill up to where the handle is. Looking good, Steven? Yeah? Even if it's not completely exact, it's gonna be okay. In this kind of side-by-side, I find that as long as you're in the ballpark, ooh, I overfilled that one, for example. As long as you're in the ballpark, you should get a pretty distinctive result in your side-by-side. So yeah, oh, there it is, keeping up really different. I like it. Can you see the differences in the color? This one's already steeping up pretty dark. And then these two are pretty different too. These are both late spring, summer harvests. And one's a lot darker than the other one. And then these two are the stem-only Houjicha. Very different in color. This is the normal stems and this is the gyokuro stems. So those of you who are there for us, with us during the blind tea tasting, you'll remember that I blind tasted this tea and got it almost right. I guessed it was a stem-only Houjicha, but you can see why I was so upset myself and didn't allow myself the point for that blind taste. Because even if they're very similar, like in concept, they steep up very differently and will probably taste pretty different too. Okay, let's wait for these guys to sit for a little bit. Let's say hi to our friends. I missed out on Gabby. How's that going from down the road? And let's see. Oh, goodness. My hands are too short for this. There we go. Gakko82. T-Log. How's it going, Marcel? It's been a while. Michelle Banlou Official. Seasonal Mitigation. How's it going? And Jess. How's it going? Are you off from work? I hope that you have some time to relax in between everything. We are doing a 6-way comparison of Houjicha because we just can't keep it simple here sometimes. I really did want to have a nice, cozy, down-to-earth session, but it's just, I just can't. I just wanted to test out what they're like, and Houjicha is a green tea. It's a green tea, but it's been roasted. So that's why we're getting these dark, dark colors. And the reason why we're getting a lot of sweetness from Houjicha is because of the roasting. The roasting kind of caramelizes the carbohydrates inside the leaves, makes them sweet, kind of like caramel. So yeah. And then Seasonal Mitigation said, how about bancha? This one here is a bancha. It's been roasted to become a Houjicha. So it's more like bancha, and then it became roasted into Houjicha. So Houjicha is kind of an umbrella term that's used for almost any tea in Japan that's been roasted. Because the word hoji just means roasted. Cha means tea, so roasted tea. So technically you could call these kukicha because they're stem tea, and kuki means stem, and cha means tea. But they're kukicha Houjicha, so stem and roasted tea at the same time. So yes, so these are actually bancha as well. Seasonal Mitigation. They've just been roasted. So once something's been roasted already, you need to put the Houjicha designation on it. You can also call it like a Houjicha bancha. But to clarify, if someone says bancha, they're going to assume, I think, that it's not roasted, you know? And bancha is kind of like when they either prune the leaves or they sort out the extra from when they make the higher grade teas. They make that lower, quote-unquote, lower grade tea called bancha. So it's kind of like an off-season thing. It's like a byproduct kind of tea. But I wouldn't call it a byproduct necessarily, because Japan really does make use of every single part of their tea production because it's so expensive just to run through it. And even if bancha is not as high grade as sencha, it's still a thing. It's still a good tea that fits a certain role that other teas can't. So I'd like to shy away from, you know, it's better or worse, you know? Yeah. Jess says a nap before shift? Oh my goodness. Houjicha is the perfect thing for that then. Hello to Arfong Tea, Lava the Sheep, talking shizzle about me already? You're nerds. Soyeon96, how's it going? Gezeit? Geist? Help me, Geist. I can't say it. Delphine, bonjour, and Pio, oh my god, you guys are killing me! Pio was say, help me. Pio, Sai Tani? That sounds like it's Eastern European. Gosh, you can't do this to the American girl. This is too difficult. Okay, so now we're going to, I'm going to decant these into different cups actually, so that I don't oversteep any of them. Because you know me, I can talk for days and days and days about a tea. So we'll all decant them at the same time. So 6 different Houjicha. 1 thirsty girl. And Steven. Alright, you guys are ready. Give those a quick preheat, because I can't, even if I'm on live, I just can't. Don't cut corners, ever, 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 ever. I know sometimes I forget, but if I do remember, you always have to be on your game all the friggin' time. As much as you can, even if it's not sexy. Alright. See, they're like ice cold. There's no way I was gonna use those. Alright. Hope you guys are ready. And then Leo says, Leo is the owner of Tea and Whisk, by the way. Can you tell everyone what makes Japanese roasted tea and Chinese style roasted tea so different? Sure, I can talk about that in a little bit. After I do my important work, which is pouring out the tea. And I am not using a filter for this. I am willing to risk kind of like the floaties, just so that I'm not getting a metal filter in the way. I really don't like metal filters. I feel like they change the taste of the tea a lot. I think it's okay if you're pouring tea for people who are drinking tea for the first time and they get really, really upset if they have to drink leaves. But for us over here, we're used to it. You can just try your best to kind of like decant using your pitcher. And yeah, if you are tuning in, chilling out, let us know what you're drinking as well. If it's Houjicha, wow, what a coincidence. I wonder how that happened. Okay, number 5, we're almost there. This one's the stem one. Ooh. Testing my decanting skills. It's not perfect, but it's better than having a filter. For me. Then this last one, which is the lightest colored one by far. So just to reiterate, these are Houjicha, all the same style of tea from Japan, but we're playing around with the grades. We're doing different leaf material, different seasons, different levels of roast. And yeah, that's gonna have a different result. Tea Traveler, how's it going? Fish Anywhere, how's it going from Las Vegas? Anaye Tea and Nessa Olivale, how's it going from Las Vegas? Houjicha up the kazoo right now. I just want to show you all the colors. Can you guys see all the colors? It just makes me so happy. Okay, so you guys hopefully can see all the colors of the Houjicha over here. I don't mind if my face gets cut off. I'd rather just see the teas. So one more time before we start drinking. These two are both spring Houjicha. This one is from houjicha.co. It's a little bit more leafy. You can see the dark colored leaves here with a little bit of stem. This one is from Tea and Whisk. Leo, the owner, is in chat, so good luck to him. It's higher in stems, but they're both from spring. These should be the best tasting ones in terms of objective quality, okay? They don't have to be our favorites, but they should show up, or else. They're also more expensive, so that's important for us to test, you know? And then we're working now from spring to summer. Some people call it late spring, just call it summer. This is the Houjicha dark roast from the same company. You can see it's a little bit more coarse. The leaves are really big, but they're also quite light. You can kind of see from how light they are that kind of the essence of the tea leaf is a little bit less heavy. So the lighter the tea leaf, usually the lower quality the material is. But it could still be good. Just a different thing they're aiming for. These are both from the same season, but this one's more cut up than this one. Also brewed up darker. And then these last two are stem only Houjicha. So if you take your cookie chat home, your stem only tea, and roast it, it's gonna become like this. This is just regular stem tea. Guessing maybe spring, you know, sorted out from a sencha or something like that, or sometimes they'll use the pruning from the tea garden to get these. From what I understand, it's usually sorted out. I've never seen Houjicha being processed, so I'm just guessing here from what I know and from having worked with Japanese folks. And then this one, the last one, is the karigane Houjicha. Karigane just means the stems of the gyokuro. So gyokuro is that shaded tea, really high quality, and it's gonna be super umami, I bet, in comparison to the other ones. You can see the color is lighter. So this is probably also in the spring. Should taste different. Okay, enough talking, no more tasting. Cheers. Leaves. Okay, I'm gonna just go down the line. I just want to see how they're all doing. Say hello. I bet Tea and Whisk's owner is like, "Ree, better say something nice about my tea." But with an Indonesian accent. Ooh, some surprising notes from some of these. Okay, so when we're doing really, really close side-by-sides like these, I like to just give it a first go-through. Just to see what's going on. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Cool. So, quite different. I think if you just serve it to a friend and they're not paying attention, it's not like they're gonna be like, "Holy crap, these are 6 different teas," but we're tea folks. Different levels of aroma, different levels of flavor, different levels of texture are going on, for sure. So let's dive a little bit deeper. I see some of you are drinking Houjicha as well. Delphine's making Houjicha. Lily Duflove is also making Houjicha. Houjicha Isagawa. I like it when the Houjicha has a name. It makes me feel like it's going to be better. Joe is tuning in from Kentucky, so a couple hours away, time-wise. And Anayati says, "Have you seen Houjicha made from leaf or stem material from countries outside of Japan?" Yes. Yes, we have. Actually, Leo, who is from Tea and Whisk, carried a charcoal roasted Tiguanian stems tea, which is really upsetting because I didn't buy any at the time and I really regret it. So Taiwanese Tieguanyin stems that were roasted. So that kind of counts, I would say. So roasted tea stems. But I haven't seen Houjicha made from like byproduct leaf material outside of Japan. That's the closest one, I would say. Okay, let's try these out. First one, spring harvest, lots of leaves. What happens when we taste a Houjicha with spring harvest? That's a spring harvest with lots of leaves. This poor cup was like right in the middle, and he actually didn't get any action. I feel really bad for him. Okay, so this one is the gold roast from Houjicha.co. And for a Houjicha, it's not the kind of cozy, smoky, comforting profile that a lot of us expect from Houjicha. This one's more like elegant and complex. It's got a lot going on. And in a way, it throws me off a little bit. And it did the first time I tried it too, because it was so different from what I expected. When I drink Houjicha, I'm thinking like cozy blanket time, you know? But this is almost like it's kind of getting like, you know, silk blanket kind of time. It's a little fancy for being a Houjicha. And you can still feel some of the kind of vibrancy of the tea. Sometimes when Houjicha is roasted very high, you lose a lot of the complexity, which is fine, you know? We're not always looking for complexity. Imagine if everyone in the world was the same. Imagine if every tea in the world was the most complex tea in the world. It would be overwhelming. But I think this one is good if you're looking for a Houjicha plus. Like if Houjicha is a little bit boring for you, you might like this. If you want to have a little bit of interest when you're drinking, I would recommend this. This is not what I would drink if I'm just chilling, though, because I probably think about it too much. There is a lot of complexity. So that makes sense. I think it matches the leaf material quite well. And then Anayati says, sidetrack on your last comment, In Pursuit has a tea guanyin, also stem tea called Wood Dragon, Stephen.
We've tried Wood Dragon.
I know, I was like... Stephen is a big In Pursuit of tea fan. So is Lava the Sheep, who is also one of our Las Vegas friends. I really like your Thunder Dragon Green too. It's just like a trend with all your dragon teas. Wood Dragon, Thunder Dragon. I've had 2 years of your Thunder Dragon Green, and both years have been just so basil-y and tomatoey. We nickname it pizza tea. It's really incredible. We really like that tea. Super one of a kind. It's from Bhutan. We really like it. So thank you. Thanks for the input. Seasonal mitigation. I have an old tree Houjicha. Gotta find it ASAP. People are just... You guys are next level. Old tree Houjicha. That's friggin' crazy. Do you want my address? Okay. Alright. Jeez. Okay. So that was the first tea. Let's do our second Spring Harvest one. This is Tea and Whisk's Spring Harvest Houjicha. It's called Royal Houjicha at the shop. And this one's a little bit more stemmy. So I expect it's going to be quite different from the first tea, even if they're both Spring Harvest. The leaf material makes a huge difference in the taste of a tea. This tea is just... I might be biased because I'm a sweet tooth. But here we have more of that kind of toasty, caramelly flavor that I really like in Houjicha. Personally, because I like sweet things, I look for Houjicha that have that caramelly flavor, that brown sugar flavor, and this one just does it for me. It's got a lot of depth to it. It doesn't have a lot of high notes, but what it does have are those like really dark, almost burnt sugar caramel notes that I really, really, really like. And a lot of texture. And when we say texture, the tea is bigger, the tea is more round, and tendencies are that's when we think teas are cozy because they have that like rich, satisfying thing going on to them. And so for those of you joining you, we're just drinking through some Houjicha. This is the second one. And I kind of like how this one reacts in the mouth. It kind of like comes up and it's kind of quiet at first, and it goes down, like it kind of drops down, and it just kind of pulls you in, almost like jumping in bed. It's really cozy, really toasty, but it's not boring. You know, it's not just smoky, and this is probably why that's one of my favorite Houjichas of all time, is that balance between interest, like there's stuff going on, and it's also just sweet and crowd pleasing. So I really like it. So Leo, congrats. I still like your tea. Good stuff. Super easy drinking. Less sourness and less fresh kind of notes as the leaf only one. What's happening is that when you have stems, the stems of the tea leaf have a slightly different composition. I'm getting nerdy about it, I guess, but they're different. So they will impart a different flavor profile into the liquor. Tendencies are the stems don't have as much caffeine, they don't have as much of the bitter compounds. I find that they have a lot of the aromatics in the tea and quite a bit of texture too. So actually, if you give me a choice between a Taiwanese oolong that has stems versus one that doesn't have stems, I'm going to pick the one with the stems. Because I find that it seems like teas with more stem, not too many, but they still have the stems in them, will have some of that nice bright aroma and a little bit of umami even. Which is why if you guys have Houjicha at home, you just brew it by itself, study it, you know, brew a sencha and a Houjicha side by side, and you'll see the difference in action between leaf material and stem material. The Houjicha is gonna be very bright and aromatic with almost no bitterness. And I like that. You know, this is a Houjicha that you can steep just super hot and not worry about it. So this is the more like kind of sexy Houjicha. Are we back? Okay, we're back. This is show-stopping tea. Okay. So yeah, this is more kind of complex, interesting, kind of a, you know, work in contrast for Houjicha. This is more comforting. Okay. And then yes, don't forget to send me the old tree Houjicha. I want some of that stuff. Just, you guys are crazy. Hi to Jen from Tea Leaves and Tweed as well. Welcome. We're on number 3 of a 6-way Houjicha comparison for funsies. I'm feeling really warm, by the way. Steven, you're not having any because you're just chilling, but I'm feeling really warm. I think that Houjicha tends to be a very warming tea for me. And then Anaya T says, I find the stems bring sweetness and roundness, perhaps because of the moisture level. See, I didn't think about that or even consider that. Does that mean the stems have higher moisture than the leaves? And then Seasonal Mitigation says, I find Hoji reminds me of bubblegum. Great insights, by the way. This is a fun view. Thank you. It was from Postcard Teas. So Postcard Teas also has some really interesting teas, so I'm kind of not surprised. Okay. Next one. I know I laugh about everything, but I really think everything is so funny and hilarious and intriguing that I just can't help myself. I'm easily amused. It's how I'm getting through this quarantine so easily. We're going to summer and you can taste it. So there's a big drop in texture now. And this is the first tea I'm getting that has a kind of roughness in the throat. So while the first two were quite round and balanced and full, this one here is a little bit thin. Yeah, it's a little bit thin. But it's got like a nice sweet, almost like, it's a different kind of sweetness. It's not quite caramel. It's, how would you describe that sweetness? It's almost like a fruity kind of sweetness, like a dried fruit kind of sweetness. If you're really squinting, it's a more soury kind of sweetness. Not as full. But very good and extremely easy drinking. So while you're sacrificing a little bit of the deep, kind of bassy, full-rounded texture of the first two, which are spring harvest, your summer harvest ones, these ones, I haven't had the second one yet, but this first one, it's definitely more thin, but it's also more refreshing. I would say. I bet that would make a really dope cold brew. I can't say it's my favorite because I don't like the rough throat sensation. I really don't like that when it comes to tea. I want the finish to be super kind of full and not drying, but it's not a deal breaker. It's not that bad. If you brewed this in a teapot, like a banko teapot I have that smooths out Houjicha, let me fetch it really quick so I can show you that it exists. You guys have seen this a couple times over the last week or two. This is my Houjicha teapot. Banko, the style of clay from Japan, tends to round out a lot of the rough notes, at least from what I've seen so far. And if you put that kind of Houjicha that tastes great but needs a little bit of depth and a little bit of smoothness into this, it's just great. But it's good. That's still good Houjicha. I like it a lot. It's not too sour, which is my pet peeve when it comes to Houjicha, when it's just dusty. And then anaye, I just thought about this. Yes, stem retains much more moisture from what I know. That makes sense because let me pluck out the dongding from floating leaves. So this is the oolong we were having this morning. When the leaves are withering, the moisture kind of like gets drawn out through the leaves out like towards the surface, but the stem is the conductor of all the moisture. So maybe that's why the moisture kind of hangs out there. It's like where all the moisture hangs out. It's the conduit of moisture, as is tea. Okay.
Getting a little philosophical here.
It's not. It's actually like, I mean, we're talking about tea processing. Like, that's why when oolong processors, you know, when they process oolong, it's extremely important for them to wither correctly because moisture is super important to get a good tea taste. We talk a lot about roasting, we talk a lot about aging, we talk a lot about oxidation. And they're very sexy because you can see them in action. You can actually see when a tea is high roast versus low roast. You can see if a tea is highly oxidized versus lightly oxidized. But I find that the most critical step in tea processing is the withering stage, which is kind of the stage that we just put into the textbook to say, oh, tea must be withered, and then it does something. You remove the moisture, but if you don't remove enough moisture from the leaf, it doesn't keep as well over time, and you're not as able to bring out as much flavor and complexity from the leaf. But anyway, that's another topic. We can talk about oolong some other time. But that makes sense that leaf and stem will have different levels of moisture. I'd like to see, because that would make a difference in the taste too. Because I can taste when something's not been withered correctly, just because my teacher eye like makes me like, when it has too much moisture, things get kind of sour, I think. So yeah, anaye 100% on withering. We should talk about withering sometime. It's like my like, it's just so underrated. I really love withering, but it's not as sexy as roasting, you know? We never talk about withering. Like, it's 70% oxidized. Sounds so much better than like, it's 70% withered.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's why it's not so talked about. It's difficult to understand too. Like, don't think that I know even remotely enough to talk about this stuff at an expert level, but I know like a little bit about a lot of different things from the people who teach me, you know? Yeah. Tyler from Hakuna Matala. I'm glad you're able to get out of work. Join us. Excellence Tea and Gingerhead and KRN welcome to our Houjicha side-by-side. 6-way side-by-side. Let's drink the Summer Harvest. Second one. Leaves are more cut up. Ooh, okay, that's the one I think I'm running into that I like the least so far. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Hey, Steven, drink the tea that I don't like. I feel bad. I'm only making him drink the tea I didn't like. You'll notice that I reacted pretty quickly to that tea. I have very little patience for tea that's not immediately at least decent. Can I have it back?
What?
Do you like it?
Yeah.
It's because you haven't tasted the other ones yet. It's not bad, but compared to the other ones, it's a little bit more sour. The flavor is thin. And it's just lacking some oomph. You know how the teas we have at home, you compare like a black tea that you have to like a Lipton? A lot of the flavors are the same. And if you give it to your like uncle or mom and dad or your best friend, they'd be like, it's black tea. But there's an extra like X factor with good tea that you just can't find in Lipton. You know, like they're so similar, we get it, but good tea just has the depth, that thing going on, you know? And this one's just lacking a little bit. It's not bad though. It really is not. It's not the worst Houjicha I've ever had. I think it's just the unfortunate placement of it in this lineup of really good Houjicha, which is why we like to do this, because I'm sure I wouldn't have even noticed this tea was off if I just brewed it. But in comparison to these other teas, it really stands out. I really wouldn't have noticed. I really would not have noticed. Okay, but it's good. It's got like a nice creamy finish to it that I like, but I just wanted to do a little bit more. Yeah. Need to work with that one. It's got some interesting characteristics to it. The finish is long, so it's like getting better over time, so maybe I spoke too soon. It's got a nice aftertaste. I don't change my mind that much about tea, but now I'm like, I kind of want to make another one of it. I'm gonna pour out some more. Maybe it just doesn't taste good at the very beginning, but it has a nice finish. I'm willing to retract my opinion if it changes. Yeah, it's just sour up front, but the finish is very smooth and almost creamy. So maybe it's okay. Okay, jury's still out on that one. I'm gonna change my mind. It's not as bad as I thought, but the initial impression is just not, you know, first impressions are important. And just immediately, it's just, sour. And I don't like that. So maybe I just have to baby it a tiny bit more, brew it in the Banko Kyusu, you know? So maybe. Alright, Fish Anywhere says, off to fish. Adios. I'm shocked. Why don't you just fish right here? It says fish anywhere, right? Just fish right here with us. Don't leave us. But that's okay. Bye, Joe. See you. Tyler, finishing up some coffee, right? Coffee? I'm just kidding. We like coffee. I like coffee. Steven does not like coffee.
I like good coffee.
I like good coffee, too. And then we'll drink up some light roast Koetsu Houjicha from Rio. And wow, you know when the Houjicha has a name, it really does sound a lot fancier. It's like when you put the cultivar name in front of a sencha, it's like, wow, it's probably going to be good, right? Okay. Fifth Houjicha of our 6 Houjicha comparison. This is the stem-only Houjicha. Unknown harvest. I'm guessing spring. I think this has been sorted out from another sencha. Actually, you know, it's not surprising that these two, the stem-heavy one from Tea and Whisk, and this one are quite similar. Just that the Tea and Whisk one has a bit more caramelly notes. This one's got that sour kind of rough texture that I'm not a fan of. Actually, I would say this is my least favorite one. Let me give it a bit though, so I don't change my mind like the other one. Yeah, that's really thin. The finish isn't good. I'm not a fan. I would have to say this is the first one I'm actively not a fan of. It's just too sour. It's just too drying. So at least this one wasn't drying. This one's quite drying, astringent on the tongue. So not my favorite. It is one of the least expensive ones though. So it's a nice everyday tea, I imagine. And putting it in the Banko Kyusu to help it out would probably bring out some good notes from it. But it's drying. So something wrong there. What could be going wrong? I mean, if you don't process the leaves evenly, you can get some of that kind of sourness, bitterness. You can see that the roasting levels are quite different on the leaves, but that's true for all these Houjicha. I'm just nitpicking. I don't know why it doesn't taste as good. Maybe just too much of a mix of materials. Perhaps. Not sure. Let's get ready with the last one, which is maybe the most interesting one out of this bunch. It's the stems sorted out from gyokura that have been roasted into Houjicha. So let's try that out. Seeing some notes from Amy. I bought a Houjicha in Japan that was sour too without oomph. Yeah, I don't like the lack of oomph. I like how the French-Canadian friends spell oomph with an O. It makes sense. I love the circumstances of buying this tea, but unfortunately I can't finish it either. I wonder if you can just roast it some more. And then, oh, hi Shiloh, how's it going? Houjicha, it depends which one you're asking me about. Which number. We're doing 6 right now. Just to see how they're performing. I'm a big Houjicha fan, and even if I like all of them, I find that when you pick a good one, even if you're not actively paying attention at that time that you're brewing that tea, when you're not doing an experiment or you're doing something else, the tea still does its job. That's why I do this. I want to pick the tea that I know is going to be there for me, even if I'm not paying attention. Subconscious kind of thing, you know? Anae tea, do you know where the sourness could be attributed to? So I think we're talking about this one, Anae. This is very sour. I don't know why it's sour. Like you were saying, maybe the stems have more moisture. It's also possible that this tea, got more moisture over time during storage. It's been stored the same way as all the other ones. I just find that sourness comes a lot from moisture, for sure. And also from uneven processing. So maybe it's uneven. I find that when the material is mixed up too much, that kind of can come out too. Like, from what I understand, this one, the Royal Houjicha from Tea and Whisk, is from like a smaller garden that's sorted out their Houjicha and kind of like combined them. But it's not like they combine a lot of different harvests together into one batch. It's from one season, one farm. And I think they have more or less the same cultivars, but let's say this one is just like a bunch of different farms that pulled together all their stems and then roasted them at the same time. You'll have many different farms, many different profiles coming together in one cup, and it might not be a good balance. So maybe that's why. Just a guess. Could be anything. I'm definitely not an expert on Japanese tea. But what I can know is I don't like it for some reason, and it is the cheapest out of the bunch. So that's something we could ask. Why do we have more sour Houjicha? I find that the lower quality, more coarse Houjicha tends to be more sour too. I am surprised though, because stems typically tend to be okay. We got some old stems though. See, look at these fatty chonker stem, What? Like, look at this one. The stems on this one are not nearly as huge. There are some big ones in there, but they're a little bit more demure, And these are mixed with some leaves too. I just feel like they just put a better blend into this. Some people think you can just roast the tea, just do it. And if this is a bigger company that's doing this, it's possible that they just took a bunch of different batches, blended them together, and just sold it as Houjicha. Again, most people won't really notice. Houjicha tastes like Houjicha. If you blind tasted this for most people, they'd just be Houjicha, More or less. Okay, last one. Again, that Gyokuro stem Houjicha. This is called Karigane Houjicha, because Karigane is the specific kind of stem from Gyokuro. I know there's a lot of Japanese terms, so if there's something that you'd like me to type out for you, let me know. We're going to publish a Houjicha guide in a little bit, hopefully, if we can figure out our shit over here and stop drinking margaritas all day. Steven. Just kidding. That kid doesn't even drink. But we will be clarifying all these terms. I know it's confusing, but the most important thing is we're trying to figure out what we like and try to make guesses as to why. We don't have to be correct. We don't have to know everything, but we can try. We can just try to think about it. And this is fun. I'm not sure if you guys are having fun, but if you're not having fun, you should go do something else. Because this is really fun. And I think a lot of us like doing these kinds of fun experiments too. Let's try this Gyokuro stem Houjicha. That's so different. That's really, really, really different. Out of all of these, everyone is kind of like on the same like profile, and this one here is like orbiting. It's very different in flavor. Wow. Okay. So for one, this one seems to be roasted a lot lighter than the other stem Houjicha, and compared to all the other ones. I'm not sure if that's a decision by the processor to roast it lighter, or if someone just made a mistake, or, you know, they were actively trying to preserve more of that umami flavor in the gyokuro. Unless I talked to the person who made it, we don't really know, because maybe someone somewhere else decided that they wanted to do it this way and then someone just copied them. I'm not sure. But I do think that the lighter roast matches better with this style of Houjicha. Because think about gyokuro. It's very umami, it's very rich, springtimey, brothy. If you roast it too much, you're taking away from that buttery umami texture. Because roast, you're trying to pull it towards sweet, right? So by roasting it just enough to bring out some of the roasted characteristics, but not all the way down to super caramelly, super toasty, you're allowing it to do what it does that's different from all other Houjicha. Because if they roasted it more, it would taste more like this. What's the point? Just use a regular Houjicha, because this stuff is more expensive. It's from gyokuro, right? So, and the stems have more, actually I don't know if it's the stems that have them, but the gyokuro harvest has more umami. It's got a higher level by weight of theanine, less bitterness. So they're just trying to work with it here. You gotta remember that tea makers aren't just, like for them, tea can be like a form of like expression or like art. So even if we see the same Houjicha on the table, different personalities in the tea makers are coming out in what they're making. So this person probably really likes gyokuro and at least appreciates what it does and wanted to preserve it. That or someone told him that that was the case. So they're like, okay, cool, we'll do it that way. And yeah, it's very bright, super light, and lots of umami for sure. Really weird one. Wow. You can see the color difference is a lot different compared to all the other ones. This is the only one that's kind of pale orange. Everyone else is kind of brown. So cool. I really like this kind of comparison. I'd say my favorites still gotta be the Tea and Whisk Royal Houjicha. It's just so caramelly and sweet. I love it. I really, really like that tea. I also like the Houjicha.co Gold Roast. If you're kind of looking for a more challenging Houjicha in terms of the complexity, the structure, you know, if Houjicha sometimes is a little bit boring for you, this is a good one to choose too. I would pick either of those in a heartbeat. This is very nice and easygoing, refreshing. This one I gotta think about more. I like some things about it, I don't like some things about it. And then this one I didn't like. So we'll see what we gotta do about that. And then this one is the most interesting. If you got Karigane Houjicha, give it a try. I bet this would cold brew really dope. So, yeah. I saw someone talk about Houjicha a little bit, Karigane Houjicha a little bit earlier. Did I miss that comment back there? Shiloh, my favorite term that you used yesterday was chonker taste. I mean, come on, that's what it is. We gotta express ourselves a certain way to make it clear, right? So, Benoit? See, now my French-Canadian friends are like, yeah. I'm gonna French it, I'm gonna French everything. Ooh, interesting. I drink Karigane almost every day. Wow. but I never thought about it being used for Houjicha. Yes, I never knew either until I found this. Japanese tea tends to be very inventive and makes the most of what they have. So that's why we have this tea. But anyway, this wraps up our comparison. Let me know if you have any questions. I can give you the recommendations for any of these if any of them caught your ear or eye. Besides that, I hope you guys have a good day. We'll see you